Welcome to Two Grandpas Talking Tech and about anything else we have opinions on. I'm your host, Grandpa Greg.
And I'm your host, Jay Benjamin, or iPad Grandpa, as my grandkids recognize me as.
iPad Grandpa, because Grandpa provides the iPads. We're going to talk about that at some point here in this episode or maybe the next one.
Well, not just provide the iPads. I do provide the iPads, but that's all they see me as. They see me as a guy on the screen all the time, except for the few times a year when we get to go up there. So, and it takes a while for them to warm up to me. They're like, "What is iPad Grandpa doing here in the living room?"
Well, that's fair. I would have said that, but mine actually live with me. We're going to get into all of that kind of stuff in other episodes, explain why my background's the way
Right.
it is, because it's a little different than what most people would expect, and some of those kinds of.
Yeah.
We've been brainstorming about what we wanted to do, and instead of doing an intro episode, we want to dive right into some hot topics that are going on right now, especially around the Apple world.
Right.
But we're going to go in a little more in depth, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So this is the first of a multi-part series. We're going to record a whole bunch of stuff today and then break it up into chunks because I actually think it's going to be quite a bit of content. Apple has just gone through a flurry of announcements, new products and things like that. And there's tons of people covering them. There's a lot of people now that it's the first of the year that have done, how did Apple do last year? What is the state of Apple? I just saw another set of those yesterday when I was doing some research for the show today. As Jason and I got talking about what we wanted to do, we thought one of the things we'd like to try to do or do a couple of multi-part series where we go a little deeper on certain topics. So for this one, we want to cover Apple in general, the state of Apple, how we feel, our opinions, because we have those about Apple. But we also want to talk about each of their products and services, what our feelings are on those, how we would rate them, so to speak. And then also talk about within that product category, let's say we're talking about iPhones, we'll go through the iPhone lineup and let's talk about which iPhone is right for which circumstances. Which one is the default that everybody should consider first, and then why you should default or deviate from that default experience, Jason. I think that's what we talked about, right?
Right. And I think this will be helpful for people specifically that's looking for an iPhone right now, or when we get to the section about iPads, if you're just looking for an iPad or a MacBook or something like that, just grab one of these episodes and maybe we can help you out with some advice or what you should be looking for when you go to purchase that device. So I think splitting it up, talking about product lineup that they have, I think we can go into better depth and give more information about each product and hopefully, help somebody out in the long run, whether they're deciding to buy a new phone. So yeah, I think that'll work.
All right. So without further ado, like I said, we'll do some intros and background and all that kind of stuff on future episodes, but let's dive in. And you have to start, I think, with the iPhone, right? I don't think there's any way we don't start with the iPhone. It's by far Apple's most popular device, generates the majority of their revenue. So we'll kind of take this approach here. We're going to go, what is the current lineup as of when we record? We'll talk about the overall state of the lineup, kind of our thoughts. Any device that stands out for us. What is our daily driver so you know what we're using? At a lot of times, those things will align, but sometimes they won't. We've got a few of those too. And then what should be the default purchase, which I think is probably the most important part of the conversation in all of these sections, right? What should be the default thing you consider when you go to Apple's website or when you walk into a store? And then for all the other non-default devices, when should you consider them? What are the circumstances that would prompt you to switch away from the default? And then we'll just talk about any advice on buying for a phone, color or size of memory, storage space, all of those kinds of things we'll talk about. And then the fun question, which Jay is going to really push back on me on the iPhone, is what are we looking forward to over the next year with that particular category? So we'll try and follow that same thing. And I read the notes and Jay's like, I'm going second on this one because you're going to have to explain to me why what you're looking forward to is a good thing. So, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. And I want to hear other folks' opinions on this too, because no spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything, but I am really wondering if this is all just hype, everyone's falling for the gimmick, or is this something that people are genuinely excited for? So we'll get to that later. So stick around for that.
Is the Apple reality distortion field in effect, right? Or something like that. So, Jay, do you want to take the current iPhone lineup and just tell us all the models that are available and then talk about how you feel about that? Because I love the one word you put in here to describe this lineup. So, tell us what models
Yeah.
are available and then start on your take.
Right. So, and when we talk about the current lineup, these are the ones available from Apple purchase now, right? Of course, you can go and buy an iPhone, 10 if you want it, a 10R if you want it from some small shop or whatever. So, when we say current lineup, these are the phones that are available retail from Apple at the current moment. So, starting with the oldest phone, which is not very old, it's still really an awesome phone, is the iPhone 16. Then they have the iPhone 16 Plus, which gets you a bigger size of that entry level. The iPhone 17e, which chronologically is the latest is the latest phone, right? It is the newest phone that's available now. I say latest, but definitely not the greatest. The main, I guess, quote unquote, entry level current model or latest model iPhone would be the iPhone 17 and the iPhone Air, which is, I think, a great phone. We'll go into details about that. And then you have your pro line, and these are for your prosume, your photographers, your people that are working or making some kind of income from their phone or devices. It'll be the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which is a bigger version of the 17 Pro.
So, Jason, what's the word? Because I thought you hit the nail on the head with this. This is
Yeah.
this is their current lineup. How do you feel about it?
It is crowded. I mean, it is very crowded. Now, I don't want to be that guy, and there's always that one person, especially us older guys who grew up with or had a connection to Steve Jobs, but this is really not what Steve Jobs wanted, and don't jump in the comments and tear me down. I really don't want to be that guy, but so many phones available at one time. It's confusing for customers. It forces us to have episodes like this where we have to tell people, or not tell people, but explain to people what the best options are. Right now, you can go to the store and those guys, the reps in the store, they'll do a good job of explaining it to you. But a lot of this information you need to have going into the store, right? You kind of got to have somewhat of an idea of what you need before you even go to the store. And then they can help you and walk you through the rest of that. But this is too much. This
Yeah.
is really too much.
It's hard when, for you and I, people are going to ask us all the time. And by the way, let me take a pause here. We would like to
Right.
hear the comments, right? What do you think? Or what are
Yes.
other ideas that you have? So please feel free to drop that in the comments. We'll get a comment form up so you can, or a feedback form up and running at some point so you can provide us feedback. But we definitely want to engage on
Right.
this. But yeah, I think crowded is the thing. I see for most of these phones, I think there's a purpose. So tell me, Jason, if you were going to make it less crowded, what would you do? What goes away? Because crowded means you got to have less. So which of these products go
Right.
away?
So I have to be honest, and maybe I'm totally missing it on this. And this is one of those things where we want to, engage with you guys in the comments. I don't see a purpose for the 17E. I just don't see it at all. I think dropping the E, ditching the 17E, and maybe, and this is, what do they call that? Monday morning quarterbacking, or in hindsight, maybe they should have saved the air. Maybe in September last year, they should have released the 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max. And instead of the 17E in the spring, release the Air, right? I think that would have been a good, I don't know how to say it, maybe just a hype builder, right? There was really nothing impressive. I don't believe there was anything impressive for other 17, other than it being the newest device to make people run out and buy it. Whereas the Air would have had that appeal, right? Maybe not so much the colors, but just the style. Then the thinness of it, I think that would have sold a lot better. I think it would have been better received by iPhone lovers than the 17E. So 17E has to go, right? I do like the idea of a bigger phone with a smaller budget, right? You don't want everyone onto the 17 Pro Max. I'm thinking, maybe this is a branding thing. Get rid of the 16, but the 16 Plus maybe have a 17 plus or a 17E plus or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not good at names, right? I'm not going to name the device, but something to give people a budget bigger phone because that's what the 16 and 16 plus are. They're those budget level phones, right? They're the older model. They're still really good phones, light years ahead of a lot of the competitor phones and things like that, but still puts the price range within reach of a lot of people. And the 16 plus gives people a bigger phone, right? Because not everybody wants to go to a smaller, uh, I say smaller. The 16 is a pretty good sized phone, but for those of us who like a bigger phone, um, it gives you that bigger phone and still keep that lower budget. So ditch the 16, ditch the 17E, uh, have your 17, have the Air, have a plus size budget phone. Again, I'm not really stuck on the name too much, but just a bigger iPhone, and then your 17 and your 17 Pro Max. So I think that would kind of streamline it, even though it may still sound like a lot of phones, but you can reach all of those different audience types with those type of phones. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I understand what you're saying about the bigger phone. It just didn't sell great, right? I think a lot
Right.
of the people that
Right.
wanted the bigger phone just went with the Pro Max, which is a
The Pro
whole other
Max.
movie. Yeah. So here's the only thing about the 17s versus 17E versus the 216s. Um, it hits a price point. So it's $100
Hmm.
cheaper than the 16, $200 cheaper than the 16 plus, and it's $400 cheaper than the Air. So I know you said, okay, release the Air instead, but so I think it's trying to hit a price point, and we're going to talk about price points when it comes to the Mac segment, right? When we start talking
Right.
about Macs, because that's the big news that's going on right now. So that $599 price point. So if I was shopping for my grandmother right now, that's probably where I
Hmm.
would go is the 17E. Because number one, she won't want a new phone to start with. She thinks it's going to change. She
Right.
never wants to upgrade the operating system. And all she does is blow it up to the size of, giant block text that you can only read 2 words on the screen at a time. And then,
And she just scrolls through.
yep,
Right.
and it's Facebook and that kind of stuff. But if I'm looking at the comparison page right now, you lose macro photography by going to the 17E versus the 16. Most people that are going
Hmm.
to be in the market for that kind of a phone are not going to care about the macro photography.
Not at all.
So you just don't lose that much, but you get the better processor and all that kind of stuff. So personally, I would drop the 16 series and just live with the 17s. So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And the Air is a little bit weird. We're going to talk about that when we get to who should consider those types of
Hmm.
things. Yeah, for me, I would ditch the 16s, have that entry level model that gets people in because, if I'm going to give my grandkids a phone and well, I'll hold that. That's going to be my story about who buys the 17Es. So, yeah, I'd get rid of the
Right.
16s. So,
Right. Right. So I'm with you. I do that. That's one of the considerations too that I thought with the Air being so expensive. I know the tech that they put in it is pretty hefty for a little thin little toy of a phone, which the Air seems like. But if they can get that price down, I think the Air should be a really good replacement for the 17E. But yeah, well, we'll talk about that when we talk
yeah,
about
I just
features
don't
and
see
costs and
how
stuff
they're
like
going
that.
to get that down considering all
Yeah.
of the technology
Yeah.
that's in that. Because when I look at the comparison page, just in the screen alone on the Air, you get ProMotion, always on, dynamic island,
Yeah.
super retina. I guess you've got that there. But I mean, if I look at those side by side on their comparison page over here, there's a whole bunch of blanks on the 16 and the 17E side that the Air does not have. So, and again, it's twice the price for that reason. So, yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about those a little bit more when we get down to that. Who should buy those? I know what you're going to tell me here, so I'm going to start on this one.
Yeah.
The device that stands out for me, and I'll just cover what my daily driver is. So my daily driver is the 17 Pro Max. It's 256. That's my daily driver. It's the one I use. I went from the regular Pro to the Pro Max again, and I couldn't be happier.
Hmm.
Partially because of the battery life. Also, the screen size is
Yeah.
phenomenal. But man, I can get through battery like there's no tomorrow. And I just had to replace mine because I had dropped it and shattered the screen.
Right.
So I just had to do a replacement. And so now I have a nice, even fresher battery that hasn't been used for 6 months. And the other day I was looking at it and I had gone the whole day and I was like 87% or something ridiculous like
Yeah.
that. So that's my daily driver. But the phone that stood out the most to me was the 17, just the plain old
Really.
17, because it, normally what they do is they drop one or two things from the Pro phones down to the next
Hmm.
generation of the regular phone, right? But when you think about everything they put into the 17, the camera has everything except for the extra zoom, right? The extra zoom
Right.
lens stuff. So the camera is just phenomenal. It basically, the front camera is the same across everything on the 17 line, right? And so it just got all of those things from a camera perspective. I was just super impressed. A couple of years ago, remember I bought, what it was, 5 iPhone Pros in my family because we
Right.
all were ready for upgrades, and I bought 5 of them. I would not do
Hmm.
that again. Most of those folks would get just
Yeah.
the plain old 17, which is great because you're talking about a $300 price difference from
Yeah.
the 17 to the 17 Pro. And you're getting a ton of the same features, which for most people is probably going to be fine. So that's the one that stands out the most to me.
Right. Right. And most people, anyone new, tuning in, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining us. But anyone new won't know, but you were actually going to sit out the 17. You were gonna skip this generation completely because you were fine with the 16, with your Pro that you
Yeah.
bought.
Yeah. And I think you were the one that
Yeah.
watched the keynote first and kept
Hmm.
telling me, oh, we're in trouble. Oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because I think you were planning on sitting it out as well, because you were going to go watch instead of
Right.
phone, and you're like, oh, we are in so much trouble. And I'm like, I don't want to know. And then yes, we were both in so much trouble. So
Right. Right. Yeah. I was gonna say because, story for another time, I was actually on a free phone. Remember, a free upgrade.
hmm
Remember, a company had to buy me a new phone, and it was only wow. So my son has it now. It was only, I think, 3 months old by the time I had to upgrade it. So there's really no need for me to upgrade other than seeing the new style, the color, the new features and everything. So yeah, I knew when I saw it, I'm getting that phone.
yeah, we'll have to save the story for how you got it, because that was a whole journey in and of itself. But so your daily driver
Yeah,
is,
yeah. It is. So let me start by saying this sounds so cliche, right? Because every year they do the keynote. Tim Cook comes out, he stands on the stage and he says, "This is the best iPhone ever." And we always hear that and we nod our heads. Okay, yeah, of course, technology wise, it's going to be better. It's going to be faster. It's going to, have a faster processor, the faster wireless radios and stuff. But when he said it this time, I actually believe it. And now that I had the phone for a few months now, it is true. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is the best iPhone ever. I just love it. And still to this day, I still get compliments on the color. Greg and I like to go case free. We're lovers of the technology and the amount of design and just passion that they put into these phones. So we like the look and feel of the phone. Now Greg will throw a case on when he's camping and stuff like that, but we actually go case free. And so I walk around with my phone so people see the color. It's not hidden inside of a black case or a colored case or even a clear case or anything like that. I have protectors on the cameras and a little over the MagSafe cover and stuff in the back. It has a thin little skin on it and a screen protector, of course. But no, I love the look and feel of it. The weight of it feels perfect in your hands. The way the buttons are arranged on it, I can quickly, hit that camera button and start recording and stuff like that. The battery life, as Greg mentioned, is awesome on it. The cameras are awesome. I just can't say it enough. This is truly the best iPhone ever. Now, the 18 will be out in a few more months. We did get a email. Did you get your email for WWDC coming up?
I
So
saw that.
all of this is going to be outdated in a few months anyway, but currently right now, the best iPhone you can get and the best iPhone ever is the 17 Pro Max. So that's my daily driver. I have it in the cosmic orange, which another long story with that was a bit of a headache to get this current model that I'm on. Yeah, that did it for me. Was the orange color. I love it. And I'm not a fan of the rounded edges as much, but it is really comfortable to hold. It feels really good in your hands. So, but yeah, that's my daily driver.
Yeah, I agree. It's the best phone. I did not get the orange. I can't do the orange. I was very disappointed in the colors. I actually
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the camera I'm using right now is another 17 Pro Max that I'm using for video stuff. It's the midnight space blue, whatever the blue is, which was the only dark one
right.
that they did this year. So I have the silver. It's fine. And just for reference, when I shattered my phone the other day, it was in a case. So, didn't
That's
really
right.
help.
That's right. I was in the garage the other day before we move on, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting in a regular chair, the folding chairs, and I'm rewiring something, and I had it in my pocket, and it slipped in my pocket. So we're talking maybe what 3 feet, not even 3 feet, 2.5 feet to the concrete on the garage floor. And the phone held fine, but man, it totally smashed one of the lens protectors that I have on the back on one camera. I mean, it is like I'm looking at it. It is. I need to peel it off because it's gonna start flaking in my pocket. Leaving those little sharp edges. So, yeah, it doesn't matter how much you protect it. It just if it hits the right way, it's going. It's going.
Yeah. We're going to do a whole episode on whether Apple cares or not. And those that have followed us before will know what that means. But I was glad
Right.
that I had it because I must have dropped it just perfect and replaced it. Default purchase, then. So think of default purchases as we go through this, not just with the iPhone, but with all of these is what is the one that everybody should start thinking about and then go up or down from there based on their
Yeah.
needs, right? So Jason, what do you feel the default iPhone purchase, the first one everyone should consider when they walk into a store, go to the website, or the first one you're going to tell people is probably what they need? What should that be?
Right. So let me just say this. And like we always say, we don't want anyone going into debt. I hate financing devices. Greg and I, we've always been, even years ago, we've always been a fan of just buying our devices and owning them outright. Right? We want you to buy the device within your means, right? By no means are we saying you need to have 17 Pro Max and 512 gigabytes because you do this or you do that. Definitely buy something within your price range and within your budget. So when I say this, I don't mean that you have to go out and buy all the things to fit this particular tech build out. But a lot of the iPhone models depend on what other devices that you have, right? Now again, don't run out an iPad because I'm saying it, but if you can take some of the heavy lifting off of your device, off of your phone, let's say you have a MacBook or another iPad or something like that, then that for me kind of lessens the amount that you need to spend. Well, the type of device that you need to spend on. So let's say you have a MacBook for work, or you needed it for school or something, and you have a MacBook, whatever generation it is, then there's nothing wrong with you purchasing a 16 other than the age, right? So I'm going to say this, the default should be the iPhone 17, right? Just buy the latest model. Colors and stuff doesn't really matter. You don't want to get something too flashy, especially if you're working in an office or a corporate environment or whatever. You want to maintain professionalism at all times. And 256 gigabytes would be enough for everybody. I don't think that unless you need to keep certain amount of media. Let's say you travel a lot and you want to keep certain amount of playlists, like Greg keeps 3 gigabytes of music with him at all
Three.
times.
It's
And
100.
100, I was way off. I was way off. But yeah,
Three is what I
if,
used to
if you're
keep on
like
my
Greg,
watch.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Because you have to have the certain playlists on the watch. But if you're like Greg, you have to have a certain amount of media. You spend a lot of time uh, in airplane mode, whether sitting it on the plane or on the runway or something like that, and you want to have movies, music, and stuff with you. If you don't do any of that, you're spend most of the time either connected to cellular or Wi-Fi or something like that, 256 will get the average person through the day. So, yep, that's my pick for the default is the iPhone 17 in 256 gigabytes in whatever color you like.
The 17 should be where everybody starts. Just flat
Yeah.
out start with the 17 because um it should be the default. So it's $799 if you buy the base model. It's not the cheapest, it's not the 17E, but I think you need to know that you're picking the 17E if that's what you want, right? And so 256 is also the default. I agree with that. I would go in
Hmm.
and look at your current phone and see how much space you're using, right? And then see
Right.
if you need to go up. It's $200 now though to go from 256 to 512. So it's a fairly
Yeah.
decent upgrade to go. And I mean, it's Apple storage prices. So what do you do? But
Right. Right. So let me before we move on now. I mentioned other devices. So let's say you don't have a MacBook, you don't have a an iPad or something to offload some of the more busy work, the more prosumer type work that you would do, whether you're remoting into work, answering emails, things like that. Let's say the iPhone is the only iPhone that you're going to own, the only Apple device that you're going to own. I would dare to say the 17 Pro may be, if it's with the budget, the 17 Pro may be a better option for you. Um, like I say again, if you don't have the other devices to offset some of your busy work to, and the iPhone is going to be your main device, and you're going to be using it for entertainment, work, even like I say, if it's just emails and things like that. Um, some maybe side gig stuff, some photography stuff, even photography for your kids or whatever. If you're big on that, making sure you have good pictures and videos from vacations and stuff like that. Um, yeah, the 17, don't count the 17 Pro out, maybe not the Max unless you need the bigger screen. But if you're just looking for a good, solid phone to handle everything, home automation, stuff like that, 17 Pro may be the a good entry point for you, if you don't have a MacBook and a iPad and any other devices, even if we're talking Windows PCs or Android tablet or anything like that. If this phone is going to be your main smart device, 17 Pro may be the way to go. That's why I mentioned, it just depends on what other devices you have.
yeah, and there are so many rabbit holes we can go down, right? About if then
Right,
that.
right.
And if
Yeah,
your phone is the only computer you're going to have, get the best you can afford, right? Period.
right,
End
right.
of story. And it's 17, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max. The Pro and Pro Max are battery and screen size. Those are the big difference between those two, right? But if it's going to be your only computer, then definitely get the absolute best one that you can get. For as far as when you should consider the other devices. So I'm just going to rattle down through mine, and Jason, feel free to interrupt me, but I don't recommend the
Mhm.
16 or the 16 Plus at all at this point.
Same here. Same
Yeah,
here.
they're still fine. If that's what you want and that's where your budget is and it meets those needs, then go ahead and go with it. For the
And it will meet
17E,
your needs. It will
yeah,
meet
it
your needs.
will.
The 16 and the 16 Plus are really good phones.
Yeah, yeah. The 17E, in
Right.
my opinion, if we're starting at the 17, because we both recommend it as the default, if you're starting at the 17, if you're going to consider going down to the 17E, here's when I think you do it. Budget, number one, because budget needs to rule the day for the most part on all this stuff. Again, like you said, Jason, don't go into debt. Number two is if literally, like I was explaining with my grandma, that she's just going to scroll Facebook and read text and
Yeah.
emails and stuff like that, fine, you could go with that one. And the other one is if you do not have a hand me down strategy, which probably should be a whole episode in and of itself. But if you do not
Right.
have a hand me down strategy and you have a kid that's coming to the age where you want to give them a phone, that's probably where you start them, is on the 17E.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I can agree. I just don't. I love the price. I love the price. Right. I'm still at the 17 being that, but I do like that for kids and grandkids. like you said, your grandma still, if it's just a Facebook machine, you know what I mean? It's just a, reply to text messages just to keep in touch with family and stuff like that. Then I would agree. That's that you're right. That's probably the default that you should go with just because of the
Yeah.
price, right?
Yeah.
If you do anything else, work, side hustle work, some freelancing and stuff like that, any kind of where you need to be productive on the phone. And then, like I said, the entertainment stuff it's just gonna do better on the 17.
Yeah.
So if you want it for all of that, then yeah. So I agree with you. Yeah.
If I have a preteen and I don't want them contacting anybody but me, I don't want them on social media because it's not good for them. And we'll get in, I know
Mhm.
we'll have conversations about that at some
Yeah.
point. If I only want them to be able to communicate with me so I know when to go pick them up from dance rehearsal or practice or whatever the case may be, number one, you could actually get them an Apple Watch with cellular and solve that problem,
Yes.
which would be a whole other conversation. But this is where I would go, would be the cheapest. Now, you and I are weird because I can't imagine a time where we're not going to have a hand me down strategy available to
Right.
us, right? So,
Right.
although for me personally now with hand me downs going to the max, nobody else wants it. So it'd really be my wife and my daughter handing it down to the grandkids, which are my next set coming up. So,
Right. And we'll talk about more about the hand-me-down strategy, but I have my daughter already calling dibs on my 17 Pro Max. So I don't know because Apple's trade-in value is the best in the business, right? And AT&T will have specials and Verizon will have specials, and it seems like they're really appealing, but nobody for a trade-in is going to give you more money for their own devices than Apple does. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, having a hand-me-down strategy makes it easier for me and Greg. But if you don't have something like that in place in your family, budget is a real factor. Then
yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and Apple's trading values fluctuate a lot, but the thing is they make it so
It
easy,
does.
right? I mean, it's just so
Yes.
ridiculously easy that the box to send the trade in back in shows up right after you get your new phone and you
Yeah.
send it in and then they refund your money on the purchase on the other
Right.
one. It's just that simple. There's no gift cards, there's no trusting your financial information to another institution. Apple's already got it, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. The next one, Jason, is the Air, and I think you've had some experience with this. I'll just say this is Apple's. This is a preview of what Apple wants to do with their devices. So this is cutting
Yes.
edge. I'm going to make my explanation of this super simple. If you want cutting edge and like to look
Yeah.
cool and definitely have the phone other than the color that looks different from everybody else, great. The Air I think is fine.
Mhm.
The Air, you got to be able to live with less battery life and a lesser camera
Yeah.
because it does not have the same camera as the Pro or Pro Max. So I think you have to know you want the Air to want it. And a couple of the podcasters and tech enthusiasts that we have followed have stuck with the Air as either a daily driver or very close to being the daily driver. But it's not
Yeah.
for me. I couldn't handle the battery life, and I need the kind of pictures that I take. I need that zoom,
Yes. Yes.
extra camera. I want all of the camera.
Yeah. And that's usually a main selling point for you every year, right? Even if the phone is just slightly different, if the camera is leaps and bounds over the previous year, Greg's gonna upgrade. He's gonna get it. He always likes the best camera.
Yeah,
So,
and
and I'm with you on that.
I'm doing some videography stuff. We'll have to talk about the other business stuff that you and I are involved in, but I've
Right.
got some stuff out there of trips I went on at Disney, and I tried doing some advanced techniques on the 17 Pro Max, and the phone was fine, but my skill is what let me down. So when I went back
Right.
this last time, I actually just used Apple's default stuff instead of the Blackmagic camera app and let it do stuff. And
Hmm.
it's so much better because I haven't refined my skill in taking photographs. So I want to just be able to take the photograph or take the video, do minimal stuff with it and have it turn out awesome, which means the better the default camera is, the better. So I would like to be professional at that. It's something I aspire to. But for now, I want to be riding along and stop my bike because I see a cool scene or wildlife or
Yeah.
something, and just be able to quickly snap the picture on my phone and move on.
Hmm.
So yeah, anytime they improve the camera, I'm gonna do it. So that probably answers part of the Pro and Pro Max. When do you buy the Pro and Pro Max, right? I know you want to talk about your experience with the Air, but for the Pro and Pro Max, that's probably the number one reason you would think about getting those two devices is you want the absolute best
Yes.
camera and video camera in Apple smartphone lineup.
Right, right. And the best everything. And you said it with the Air. You have to know what you're getting into. I don't want to offend anybody, but it just seems like a real hipster type phone, right? It was a guy at one of the events I was at, and he had his, and he was case free. It was just shining, and I looked at it. And hey, I had a couple of those. What do you think about it? And oh, I love it. I love it. It gets me through what I need it for, right? And he's just saying, I just use it for this. I use it for messaging and things like that. But like we said about the other devices, he has a work phone, and his work phone, I believe, was a 7, not a Pro or Pro Max or something like that. So he was one of those dual phone guys. His personal phone was an Air, and it got him through you know, everything that he needed out of his personal phone. And it looked really good. Like Greg said, if you want to be on that bleeding edge of technology, it is really thin. It is really shiny. It is a really nice phone. It has a decent camera on it, a decent processor in it. It is really nice, but just know what you're getting into with the iPhone Air, and it is not the top shelf, top of the line in the lineup. And I would say it even falls. I would put it below the 17. If we're talking about quality and all of that, above the E, below the 17. As far as ranking, with the type of technology that's in it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, jumping into the Pro line, yeah, it's just if you need the best camera, if you need the best battery life, if you need the best screen, the best sound quality, the best everything, yeah, you have to go with the Pro.
I mean, let's just be clear. If your budget says I can buy whichever of these phones I want to
Right.
buy the Pro phone, right? Even if
Yeah.
you don't use
Buy the
all
Pro
of the
Max.
features today, yeah, I mean, just decide on screen size at that point, but buy one of the two versions
Right.
of the Pro phone because it'll be relevant longer than any of the other phones because it's got all of the latest and greatest stuff. It's got all of the new features. So if your budget
Hmm.
says I can buy any, if you walk into an Apple store and say I can buy any phone that's in here, absolutely buy the Pro or Pro Max. Get as much storage as you want to get, pick whatever color you want, have a nice
Hmm.
day, walk out the door because your budget tells you you can't, right? Because it
Right.
is the best phone.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk. I know we said uh, just briefly, I know we just kind of just said, hey, whatever color makes you feel better, but let's talk about these colors real quick. Let me pull it up. And, I know since we're giving advice, we may as well give color advice too, right? And I know I mentioned if you're in a corporate environment, if you have to be professional and things like that, then of course you want to go with your darker, more
Yeah.
professional colors. But that purplish, pinkish, what is that?
So which one are you looking at? So let's go through them. So the pros only have three colors. They have silver,
Oh, let's
they
start with
have
the
the deep
pros.
blue, and then they have the orange. That's the pro,
Right.
right? So between the two of us, we have one of each.
Yes.
The orange
So
is way too
for me,
flashy.
well, I agree with you on that, but it caught my eye from the start. Now, I remember my 14, and again, another story for another time. My company colors are purple. So my original 14 I had was the purple um, Pro Max. That purple looked amazing, right? But due to issues with that, I had to quickly jump over to the gold 14 Pro Max, and it looked really good. I thought it looked good, but no, when I saw this cosmic orange, I had to have it. And like I said, even to this day, it's been out for however many months now. I still get compliments on the cosmic orange. It just stands out. It looks really cool. So too loud for you. I never liked the blue. I just think that was a bad color choice. Maybe a lighter color blue. As orange as the orange phone is, the blue should have been blue like that and not so navy or not so dark blue. Maybe. I don't know if I'm explaining that, if I'm
Uh,
articulating that
you are.
as clear, but
Here's the problem. And if I look at the rest of the lineup, they sort of solve this problem. But on the pro level phones, you have to provide one color that can go into the corporate environment, right?
yes.
And
Yep.
so if they had the orange, the green, and the blue as brilliant and saturated as the orange is today, they have nothing that you would want to walk into a boardroom and set down. And the problem is now with the Mesa on the back that even most
Hmm.
cases, you are not going to disguise front up or front down what color of phone you have completely. I've got a
Right.
dark case on the blue one here that I'm looking at. And on the front, you can still tell just a little bit that there's a blue ring around it, but not a whole lot. And the reason I got this one is I wanted something subtle for videography. If I'm videoing a wedding, I don't want
Yes.
a bright orange phone to be the main camera capturing the wedding,
Right.
right? And so they have to provide that. But the blue, yeah, not great. The silver is probably your best bet if you want something that's completely neutral, but just not. I don't know. I mean, I struggled with, and so I got one of each, and I don't know that I'm happy with either of them, but hopefully they'll do something different. But they kind of have to provide that, even with these others. So now if I look at the 17E's got soft pink, white, and
Hmm.
black. Please put the black back in the Pro phone for one of the colors,
That
please.
and that was the point I was going to make. They should have made it instead of the blue. They should have went with black.
Yeah,
But the silver is a good professional, corporate
yeah.
environment type of color too.
Because if I look at the Air, the 17, and the 17E, they all have a version of black. The black on the iPhone 17 and the 17E say black, but they're two different blacks. And then the iPhone Air says
Right.
space black. Any of those I would have preferred. Maybe not the one that's on the 17, but the 17E or the space black, I would have gone with that because they would have been, I would have gone with that for both of my phones. Just that would have been what I would have done. Now, if they come back out with the forest green or that deep red, you know, I don't work at a company anymore.
Yes.
I work for myself, so it doesn't really matter. But the white on the
Yeah.
17E looks pretty good. Um, and then that soft pink actually does look pretty good, right? I could see certain
Yeah.
folks
It's not
with
bad.
different colors that might want that soft pink. The white on the
Yeah.
17 is
It's not
okay.
such an eyesore.
Yeah, yeah. The white on the 17 is good. The blue on the 17, that mist blue, does look pretty good. The green is the same color as my wife's iPad that she has. It's all right.
Hmm.
But that lavender, I think you're going to want to talk about that lavender one, right? The light purple.
Yeah. It. Like we said about the pink, it looks good. That looks good. I can see. Well, uh, I don't know if somebody can deal with that. If you were going to buy this phone and you were going to keep it for 3 or 4 years, I don't know if you want to deal with the purple phone or lavender, right? If this is a phone, and that's why I say let's give advice for colors. Let's not just breeze over the colors. If you're going to have it for 2 to 3 years and you plan on reselling it after, whether it's to a private seller or something like that, your silver and your black are probably going to hold up and hold the most value, you know, longer than it would if you get a green phone or a purple phone. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
trying to resell that, you're gonna kind of narrow your audience. And again, not everybody's gonna be reselling privately, talking, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or one of those online trade-in sites. Apple, the color doesn't matter to them. If you're gonna trade it to Apple, they're gonna give you the
right.
same value no matter what the color is. But if you're gonna resell it to somebody, you're gonna have a harder time reselling this purple phone to someone unless they're in the market for a lavender color phone. Blue, maybe you can widen your scope a little bit of potential buyers, but definitely if you're going to be reselling, you want to stick with your silvers, your blacks, your space grays, your
Yeah.
basic colors. Anything too loud. Greg, we ran into the same issue with my gold Apple Watch, and you had the same thing with your red Apple Watch,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
They just don't. Nobody wants to hand it down. Nobody else in the family wanted a gold watch. Nobody wants a red watch. It would have been easier to hand down if it was, what was it, Starlight? The
Yeah.
colors, the space gray or
Yeah.
Starlight or space black. So just be aware if you're buying it and you're going to keep it for a year or two, and you're going to trade up with Apple or just hand it down to someone in the family, just be conscious of what color you get,
Yeah.
right? Because I probably wouldn't take the green as a hand me down.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
Also, too, whether you handed it down to a grandchild or a daughter or son, is your son going to want a lavender phone? Is your daughter going to want a green phone?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Color is important.
It is, right? And sometimes it's a fashion statement, sometimes it's personal preference. And look, this is the most intimate device anybody has, right? It's the one
Right.
that's on them all the
Right.
time. Make it yours. So if you want one of these colors,
Yes.
great. Here's another thing to consider, not only about color, but about which phone you buy and how much storage space you buy on it. How long are you going to keep
Hmm.
this phone, and how are you going to use this phone?
Yes.
If you're going to keep this phone for 3 to 5 years, then make sure you're going to be good with that color. So that bright orange, Jason's not worried about it because odds are he'll upgrade in the fall this year or in the fall next year anyway. But if you're going to keep
Right.
this for 3 to 5 years, one of two things. Are you good with that color showing all the time? Or are you picking a color that you feel confident you can swap cases on it every year or every couple of years for a complementary case color, right?
Hmm.
So I wouldn't want to buy this lavender phone and then decide I'm red is my favorite color, or I'm going to school at a school that's got red colors, and then I want to pop a dark red case on my lavender phone because some
Yeah.
of that is going to show through, right? So that's the other thing that I would consider for color is how long are you going to keep it, and are you going to case it? And if you want to be able to pick any color case, then you got to pick one of the whites or the black, right? Just go with one of
Right.
those to be able to do that. So the same thing sort of applies to which phone. I think we already talked about this a little bit about budget, but if you know you keep phones for 5 years, this may be the one reason I don't buy my grandma the 17E is because she keeps phones until they die, right?
Yeah.
Until they literally die, which with Apple is a very, very, very long time. So if you're going to keep a phone for 3 to 5 years, you may want to go up to the Pro. Pick the right color, and you may want to anticipate future storage needs. So if you're going to get a phone like the 17 that's got a really, really nice camera, and all of a sudden you're going to take a whole lot more photos because it's got a really nice camera because you're on a iPhone 10, I don't know, whatever,
Yeah.
or that kind of stuff, then you may want to think about how much more storage room. I agree with you that 256, which is the bottom for everything now, that can be the default for everyone. But if you're approaching 180 and you don't have 100 gigs of music like I do, right? That you've got a lot of video that you've taken and a lot of photographs that you've taken, and you want those
Yeah.
on your device for quick access. Apple will manage the memory and all that kind of stuff fine. But if you just don't want to have to worry about it and you're getting up close to 200 and you're going to keep this phone for the next 3 to 5 years, you may want to think about spending the extra money to go up to the 512, right?
Right.
So,
Right. And I didn't consider that too. And as much as we say on here, back up, back up, back up. Make sure you're backing up your phone. National Backup Storage Backup Day was it last week or the week before? It just recently passed. No matter how much we say that to people, there's still a number of people that go around with years of memories, years of holidays. I bet you now, this is my challenge to anyone that's listening. Go to your camera now, go to your camera roll and see how many Christmas pictures you have, not just from 2025, but do you have Christmas pictures from 2024 or beyond that still on your phone that hadn't been backed up? If you're doing that, stop watching the show now and go and back up your phone. But Greg is right. The longer you're going to have the phone, you're just going to accumulate more pictures, more videos, more files, and stuff like that. And if you're not a person that's regularly backing up and things like that, now they have iCloud solutions and stuff like that. So if something happens, it won't be totally lost unless your phone is not backing up to a different place. But yeah, if you're going to have it for, let's say 4 years, I think it may be a good idea to go up to that next level, Greg. You may be onto something with that, you know,
Yeah.
unless, and this is where the whole other device thing comes in, because if you have a MacBook and you're backing up to your MacBook, or you're at least dumping your folder, your pictures in a folder on there, then
Yeah.
that would affect the other devices that you have. Whereas, Greg and I, we have multiple devices and multiple storage options and multiple storage locations. And Greg even pays for what, the mid tier or either the largest tier of iCloud
I pay for a lot
storage.
because
With
I've
your
got
Apple
family.
One.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
family.
yeah,
And
and everybody's backing up their phones, and yeah,
Dustin uses way more. I got to get him to clean it out because he's starting to hog up the space, and I really don't
yeah,
want to go up above 2 terabytes, but that's the way it goes. So,
yeah,
all right,
yeah. So
let
consider
me,
that, Greg. You're right.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, all good. Let me recap then where we're at, and then Jason's going to grill me on the last question on iPhones. So
Yeah.
we agree that the iPhone lineup is too crowded, right? There are too many choices.
Hmm.
I know everybody says the more choice, the better, but it just becomes difficult. 17 and 17 Pro were the two standout devices for us. We both are on Pro Max for our daily drivers. We agree that the default purchase should be the 17, and that then there are good
Yeah.
specific times when you should go up or down, mostly up from there, because I'm not sure we really recommend strongly the 17E, except for in certain circumstances. And then for buying
Hmm.
advice, just be conscious that whatever color you pick, you're going to have, and you got to deal with it. And then consider how long you're keeping the phone when you start thinking about memory and all those kinds of things. So I think that's about where we landed on the phones, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's some good advice, And I guess one thing too we didn't mention, we didn't really go into sizes as much, but get a phone that you can handle comfortably. If you can
Yeah.
fit it in one hand, there's no need to go with the Pro or the Pro Max, because it is a really hefty phone. My wife actually hates to hold. She even hates to use my phone when I hand her the phone for something, and I believe your wife is the same way, right, Rick?
Yeah,
She
she
just
would go
doesn't
with the
like the bigger phones.
she loved the mini. So, I mean, I'm looking right now.
Yeah,
So the Pro Max is bigger, but the 17E is 6.1, the 17 is 6.3, the Air is 6.5, and the Pro is 6.3, right? So the 17 and the 17
yeah,
Pro are the same size, but then you've got the Air a little bigger, you've got the E that's a little smaller, and then you've got the Pro Max that's a lot bigger, right? So that
yeah.
absolutely
And that
is under
battery.
consideration. Yeah, that just comes
Yeah,
along
that
with
the battery adds
the
some weight
bigger
to
the
it.
phone, the better the battery life ends up being, except for in the Air, which is the second largest
Yes.
screen, but has one of the smallest battery lives. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hand my phone to my wife, and she's dramatic about it. I hand it to her. Oh, it's just so heavy. She hates it, but just be conscious of that too. We forgot to
Yep.
mention that.
Yeah. No,
But
that's good.
yeah, the size.
All right, Jason, you have questions for
Yeah.
me.
So yeah, this is the segment that I wanted to go to, and that's, what are we looking forward to? What are we hoping for with iPhone this year? So we get all of the standard rumors, right? As soon as they announce the old phone, the next rumors come out, right? We know it's going to be supply chain issues, right? We know it's going to be they're having issues with production, so it's not going to be as many. So we get all those rumors, but one rumor has been kicking around for, I would say, maybe the last four generations of phones since Samsung released their version, is a folding phone. And people watching, they're probably like, yep, they've been rumoring a folding iPhone. But now it would seem is that this is more truer than rumor. That this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be an actual thing this year. Also, too, there's going to be an Ultra phone, but I'll talk about that when I talk about what I'm looking forward to this year. But Greg, you mentioned that even on Gadget for Family, when we talk, you are looking forward to a folding iPhone. So my first question is, why? Why are you looking forward to a folding phone? Two, I want you to give me some use cases and stuff, some actual use cases and all that. And three, is this really just not a gimmick? Like, I can't, off of the top of my head, something to come to me when you take over. But some technology is cool on paper, right? But a folding iPhone just seems really gimmicky to me. Really, a lot of fail points. right? Is this going to be a device that you're going to be able to have for 3 or 4 years? Not that we keep 3 or 4 phones 3 or 4 years anyway. I don't see many of the Samsung foldables out in the wild. I think there's another manufacturer. I think LG makes a folding phone. I don't see many of those out in the wild, but I know there are more iPhones in the wild anyway. We see more. Will we see more folding ones? So I know those are a lot of questions, but tell me, Greg, folding iPhone, why?
Okay, so I think first of all, we need to explain what the rumor is. So the rumor of the folding iPhone is
Okay.
different than all the rest, right? When you look up at the renders and the mock-ups, and there's some pretty good confidence that this is the case. This is
Yeah.
not two iPhones stacked together with a hinge that open up to be a double iPhone
And you
screen.
just
Yeah,
right.
it is
And you basically get
hinged,
an iPad mini.
right, but it's more square. So it's not really
Yeah.
phone, it's not really iPad, it's a little more stout. And we'll probably go into this at some point as those rumors pick up. I just want to see what Apple can do with this. So I've been fascinated by them.
Right.
I've been fascinated by them when they were double iPhone that could open up, right? And then I've got my iPad mini because you know how much I love my iPad mini. The challenge with the
Right.
iPad mini is it's not pro enough, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I I read a ton on it and I play some games on it, but the screen's not as good as my iPad or my iPhone or my Mac. The processor's not as good. It only has Touch ID instead of Face ID. There's a lot of downsides to the iPad mini, right? So
Hmm.
I see this not necessarily as a replacement for my iPhone Pro Max because I don't see them putting an iPhone Pro Max level specs, camera, all of those other kinds of things into this folding phone.
Right.
They didn't do it in the Air, and I think the Air is the precursor to the folding, right? Because the Air is so thin, that's what a folding phone is
Yeah.
going to have to be. So I don't anticipate being able to get rid of my Pro Max for the phone, but I do think it may replace my iPad mini. Then I can put my business phone line on that instead of using Google Voice or whatever it is that I'm doing today, and then still have my
Right.
high end iPhone, whether it's the Ultra that you're going to talk about or whatever, right? And still have that. But the idea of having that folding device, maybe they'll surprise us and it will be able to replace the Pro Max. I just don't see that quite yet, maybe in the future. So, but I'm just looking forward to that because I don't think they're going to make a Pro iPad mini. I think that Pro iPad mini would probably cost as much as the regular Pro iPad because they have to shrink
Right.
all of that stuff down. So I think this is the closest I'm going to get to having a pro level iPad mini, but it's also in a better form factor. And if it's got dual eSIM, for example, right, then
Yeah.
I can just take that with me sometime and transfer my number over if I want to. So we went to spring break, we went out to Disney, of course. And
Hmm.
the big debate was what devices do I take and what devices does my wife take? And I took my iPad, didn't take a Mac, and I didn't take my mini, and I took my two phones, my video phone because I was recording footage, and then my
Yeah.
regular phone. But I did take my iPad because I was still reading and doing some of my personal study and that
Right.
kind of stuff.
And we
And I
talked about
wanted,
that too, like not
yeah,
taking too much.
right. So, but if I had had that, could I have gotten by with just my video phone and the iPad mini, right? Or that, not the iPad
Hmm.
mini, but the folding iPhone. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to see what Apple can do with it. Can they push it far enough that it's pro enough for me
Right.
and go that direction? I don't know if they will. I don't know if I'll buy it. I'm probably going to want it because most
Yeah.
everything brand new
Of
that they
course.
come out with, I didn't, the one thing that didn't tempt me was the Air. It just didn't. It just
Right.
was not a temptation to get the Air. So anyway, that's why I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to the folding phone. I want to see how far they can push it, and I want to see if it can become the replacement for my iPad mini.
So let's talk about use cases with that because again, I don't know where it would fit in a product line because if we're talking Ultra, which we'll get to in the middle in a minute, where does that leave the Pro and the Pro Max, right? Because you still have a entry level iPhone, right? If we're talking 18, you'll still have an 18. You have an 18 Pro and Pro Max. Then I'm assuming there's probably going to be a new version of the Air, or maybe Apple is just kind of just brush that under the rug. But where does that leave a folded iPhone, right? I'm sure there'll be some cool multitasking features and stuff like that, but where do you fit a folding iPhone in your life, in your tech build out?
For me, I think I just told you, right? It would be
Yeah.
reading and some of those kinds of things. But let's think about this scenario. If I can only have one computer in my life and I've got to have a phone, you just can't get by without a phone, right? Even
Yeah.
you've tried to live on your iPad only,
Yeah.
right? And you just
And
can't
it's rough.
quite do it. So you've got to have a
Yeah.
phone, something that you can slide in your pocket and get cell phone service and all of those kinds of things. If you can only have one phone and they make this at a price point, or sorry, not just one phone, but one computer, and they make this at a price point, imagine the
Yeah.
power of having your phone and your iPad mini ish size iPad with all of the functionality that goes along with those things. Because I can multitask on my iPad mini, I can hook a
Hmm.
keyboard easily up to my iPad mini, and the screen's big enough to do some things. If I can only have one device, then great. That might fit the bill. Let me give you one
Right.
more that I think you might relate to. If I'm a network admin and I
Hmm.
need to be able to remote in to a server or something from my kid's baseball game, and I need just a
Right.
little more screen real estate to be able to see those terminal commands or whatever that I'm trying to run, then
Yeah.
does my phone that's in my pocket when I take it out and I get double the screen real estate provide me enough to be able to do something like that? So those are the two use cases that pop to my head.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see that. I can see that. And I can see tech professionals jumping right on this, right? They have the money to spend. They have a love for technology. They want the bleeding edge, the latest and greatest anyway. But realistically, you and I both know Apple. This phone is not going to be affordable. It's not going to be top of the
No.
line. Like you said, it's probably not going to put the pro level camera in it. I'm sure it's going to have a beautiful display. I'm pretty sure it's going to have a big battery. It's not going to have all of those features that's going to, make it an ultra or either the Pro Max or something like that. It's not going to be affordable. We know that. So let's set this expectation now.
Absolutely.
Two iPhones smashed together, you're going to be looking at not double the price, but and it's still too early to speculate prices, but I'm willing to say now that this is going to be more expensive than your entry level MacBooks, right? Your MacBook Pros, right? This is I'm going to put this phone maybe in the above 1500 to 2000 range,
Yep. I
right?
think
It's,
that's
it's not
fair.
going to be a cheap device. So it's not going to be for everybody. It's definitely going to be for professionals. I'm just having a hard time of seeing the why. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
gave me some good use cases, right? Definitely an on-call device, right? I have to leave the laptop in the car. I have to leave my iPad here, or it's dead. I didn't bring the charger, whatever reason. I can handle everything, unfold this, have the extra screen real estate. I can see that. But
Yeah.
is a folding iPhone. And like you said, it's going to be more square. So it's not going to be basically two phones smashed together and open them up. It's not going to be that. But um, as far as mobility goes, how convenient is it to have, a bigger phone? You know what I mean? Even though you
Look,
need that extra screen real estate and stuff like
don't
that.
get me wrong. A phone and a Mac or a phone and an iPad is a better combination. I'm not saying that they're not,
Yeah.
right? I mean, absolutely is better. But you asked why I'm looking forward to this. Probably the biggest
Right.
reason
Right.
is because I want to see how much tech, even if for the first version, Apple just put all of the iPhone Air tech into a foldable, right?
Okay.
Because the
Yeah.
tech in the iPhone Air is pretty darn good. They didn't compromise in
It
as
is.
many places as we thought they would. The camera is kind of the one disappointment. And then if you did two of them, your battery life actually might, the problem with the battery life might get resolved. But if they can
Right.
shove that much tech into that foldable device, is it next year? Is it the year after when they're able to put
Right.
the pro level tech into that foldable device? Because if I had iPhone 17 Pro Max tech in a foldable, I mean, think about how
Right.
great that would be, right? Because then I've got the best of both worlds. I've got the expanded screen, all of those kinds of things. So that would be phenomenal. I don't think they'll be able to do it year one. and that device might
Right.
cost $3,000. But if you consider that I'm paying what, 1,300 or 1,400 for a Pro Max and another 600 for my iPad Mini,
Yeah.
now you're talking about I get rid of those two, less points of failure, all of those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but the Air is definitely not for everyone. Most of their other
The
phones,
Vision
most
Pro.
people could,
The
yeah,
Vision Pro
Vision
is not
Pro,
for everyone,
yeah,
right? They came in and priced everyone, your average consumer, out of the game, right? They
yeah,
came in with that hefty price tag because they wanted to get it in the hands of the right people. And then
yeah,
they create the use cases for it. So maybe this is going to be the same tactic, right? The same game
yeah.
plan.
We'll see. So anyway, I mean, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of rumors coming out. We'll keep covering it and see how it goes. But I am looking forward to see what it brings to the table. We'll talk about in the MacBook session, just like I was really interested in what they were bringing to the table in their Mac lineup this year too, because I want them to
Yeah.
try some new things and not just get stuck in a rut. And we'll see how far they can push the tech. Now,
Yeah.
speaking of pushing tech, Jason, the Ultra phone, and
Yeah.
I haven't done a whole lot of research, but talk to me about what you think this Ultra and why you're looking forward to it.
Well, and this is what makes it so hard to believe. And still we're going by rumors, right? And even if what we've known from Apple, even if products have made it so far into where they have actual physical products and stuff, we never know what Apple's going to do until Tim Cook comes out on that stage and says, this is going to be that, right? We don't know. They can get products and services all the way up to launch and just decide to axe the whole program and go a different direction. But an iPhone Ultra model is supposed to be, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, it's supposed to be basically a more rugged Pro Max, right? A more rugged iPhone Pro. So it's going to have some of the rumors I've seen is like a thicker titanium case on it. Most of it is mock-ups and stuff like that anyway, but the thicker screen, it's supposed to be the phone where you don't need a case. Even though Greg and I go case-free all the time anyway, this is supposed to be a case-free model. Bigger battery, of course. I just don't see them putting a better processor than they would put in an 18 Pro. But who knows what Apple would do? Maybe it would be some kind of special custom version of the of a processor. So while I'm looking forward to that, I we're iPhone fans, right? We keep up with Apple and things like that, but we're not industry insiders like some of the guys that we follow who actually speak and talk to people in the development of these devices and stuff. So we're not industry insiders, but um, I don't see it. I don't see it. Um, I think maybe what people are looking at is the 18 Pro, a better 18 Pro and not necessarily an iPhone Ultra
Yeah.
or what the rumors are saying. So, we'll see. Give me all the tech in my iPhone. I'm always I don't like a smartphone, so I'm always going to be Pro Max anyway. But no, the more you give me,
Yeah.
the more I'm going to want. So yeah, I'm all for it.
So two things I
Um,
was just kind of looking up here, and one of the rumors is that the foldable is going to be called the Ultra, which I find super interesting if that's what they decide to call it. But I think
right.
what you're saying, put aside the name, right, is pack all of the tech into the phone that I can buy. And you and I both, we joke around that Jason is frugal. He's not cheap, he's frugal. But both of us, I don't know if they charge me $2,000 for the highest end iPhone that has all of the stuff that they want. Am I going to like paying that much for it? No. Am I likely still to pay that much money for it? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Because there we go. So I think what you're saying and what I completely agree with is what is that next level? Right? What it's
Yeah.
their 50th anniversary this year. We're coming up on the 20th or whatever it is of the iPhone. I don't know, all those things. I can't keep it all straight in my head, but
Yeah.
pack all of the stuff. Pack all of the 17 or the 18 17 Pro Max stuff in the iPhone Air with higher
Yeah.
density batteries, so I get the battery life. And sure, yeah, is that $2,000? Okay, I'm going to do that, right? Advance the
Right.
camera further along, right? Those kinds of things. So I think I'm looking forward to see what they can put into a folding iPhone, but I think you and I are actually saying the same thing. I'm just saying I would like to see if they could put it into a foldable. You're just saying, just give me my current phone, but just give me more of it, right? More of the
Right.
tech.
Right.
What's the next level of stuff that you can plug into it?
Right. Yep. So another thing too, I know you just heard me, go on and just rant and rave about this Cosmic Orange phone. Now I do love the Cosmic Orange phone. But is that color ideal? It's not. And actually, the 17, the 16 Pros, and the 14 Pros, no, the 14 Pros were good. So I would say the last two generations, the color options have been really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one complaining about it. I've seen it on Reddit, I've seen it on just YouTube videos we watch. No one is happy about the colors. I'm looking forward to Apple redeeming themselves this year and coming out with some better colors and product red. Bring that back. A red phone is not for everyone, just like the orange phone is not. But I'm looking forward to some better color options than what we've had with the previous two generations of
Yeah.
phones. So Apple, you have to get this color thing together. I love my
Yep.
Cosmic Orange. I'll admit it. Whenever I take it out to record, I hold my phone up. It is a distraction. People immediately, and like you said, the photography stuff that you're going to be doing, you don't want the phone to be the center of attention. As
Yep.
soon as you pull it out, it catches people's eye. Where
Yep.
if it's black or if it was silver, and maybe it wouldn't as much. But these loud colors, and while I admit I love it, it's not for everyone.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to some better colors too. What about you?
Give me my deep forest green that I can put a black case on, and then it makes it
Right?
look black when I need it to look black. But let me have my deep forest green when I want it. That would
Yeah.
be awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I'm with
but
you
they're
on
not
that.
going to
So
do it. I
some
mean,
bolder colors.
they're going either super saturated with the orange, or they're going the more pastels, which is all of the pinks and the lavenders and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm over it. I'm
Yeah,
over it.
me too. All right, Jason, do you think we covered the iPhone?
Yeah, yeah. I think we gave some people some stuff to think about, and hopefully they can make some good decisions. And like I said, those guys are awesome. When you go to the Apple Store, if you go to the Apple Store, if you're not buying online or something, they're awesome about helping you get the right one for you. Right? They actually spend time with you. They're not commission workers, so if you take an hour deciding. Maybe they'll be back and forth between a couple of customers, but they won't rush you into, no, get this one, get this one. So they're good about helping you at least going in with some of the knowledge that Greg and I gave you, you can make a better informed decision instead of just,
Yep.
just jumping into something. So
Yeah, and if you have specific questions you want to ask, drop them in the comments for now. We'll be happy to engage and try and answer them as best we can. And like I said, we'll get a feedback form up and running here in the next few weeks or so. But yeah, let us know. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up then. This is the iPhone section. We're going to cover the rest of Apple's products. We've got Macs, we've got iPads, and then we've got Apple Watch, as well as AirPods, and then kind of lumping together HomePods and services and some of those kinds of things. So those are the different segments that we're going to cover. So we really appreciate you sticking with us to the end of this one. If you're interested in those others, check the channel or the podcast feed for whatever else you're interested in, any of those other subjects. We're not quite sure how they're going to split up yet. Some of them might get combined. This one definitely is long enough to be on its own, but we really appreciate you listening to us. We're looking forward to producing some great content. We'd love to have you share with us what you'd like us to cover. We've got a whole list of things, talked about a few of them today that we think we're going to cover. But I think for today, or at least for this episode, that's it. Jason, any parting words for our awesome audience?
No, guys, thanks and welcome back.
All right, everybody, tune in to the next episode. Hit that subscribe or that like button. Make sure that you're following us so you get notified when we're there, and we'll see you next episode.
See you then.